Good morning. I am Steve Weber. Welcome to the American Gumption Morning Show. And American Gumption showcases ordinary individuals living extraordinary lives. And the reason why we like the extraordinary / ordinary juxtaposition is that it's positive and it's uplifting, and I believe the world needs more positivity and more encouragement. And so that's why we bring folks who are just ordinary and extraordinary onto the show and showcase whatever it is that they're doing in their life. So the goal of the show is to help those who are in the process of awakening, awaken, and then to help those awakened ones live their life with gumption. So that's what we're all about here. All righty, welcome to today's show. Again, Steve Weber. I'm the host of the show, and this is show number 206. Coming up on our 1 year anniversary. So kind of proud of the fact that we've done 200 shows in less than 1 year. But anyway, it's not a contest of how many we do. It's really getting to be about the quality of the guest and the quality of the conversations that we're having. So we are keep evolving and growing as this show evolves and grows. So today's Thursday, July 22nd, and I've got a monologue prepared, and my monologue is titled, I cannot not do this. That double negative. I cannot not do this. All right, I'll tell you what that is all about. So before I do that, though, the monologue, let me just let you know that tomorrow, Kimberly Palm, who was a guest a couple of weeks ago, is going to join us for another conversation. We're going to talk about her book, Ascension 101, and it's really it's a roadmap for an awakening soul. And so it's going to be a great conversation, and it's not ascension like Jesus ascended. It's ascension from 3D to 5D in terms of, moving from this physical world that we're living in into a more heart-based, love-based reality where some of our skills that have been lost come back. So we're very excited to have that conversation. If you're into this whole evolving world that we're in, you're going to want to hear what Kimberly has to say tomorrow. Kimberly Palm. All righty. And then we got some shows planned for next week, but I'll tell you about those more tomorrow. All right, let me jump into my monologue and just get this rolling. So I've done this kind of talk a little bit before, but I'm going to do a little bit differently today. We all have, I've talked about many times where we have a turning point in our lives. And, there are moments of truth, or there are moments when things just seem to change and things become different than they were. And I've got 3 different examples, and I'm just sort of making these up today, but I'm calling them serendipity, destiny, and tragedy. And maybe I'll change those words as I, think about this a little deeper, but we just sort of threw this together this morning, inspired by our guest coming up. Oh, I don't even know did I even mention our guest, Aaron Avila and Deborah Sweazey, the founders or the host of Stroke TV. They are going to join us in just a couple minutes. So I don't think when I did my announce, I think I forgot to announce who the guests are. So Aaron and Deborah, the co-host of Stroke TV, are coming up in just a couple of minutes. So we're going to get to them. So anyway, back to the monologue. I was saying that, moments can change. And I'm giving it 3 different ways. One, I'm going to call serendipitous things. The second one, I'm going to call more of a destiny. And then the third one, I'm going to call tragedy. And maybe that's not the right word, but we'll leave it at that for right now. So the first one is serendipity. And that's when you have a series of events that just keep kind of happening. And it's not necessarily anything planned, but they just keep showing up. And you just it's almost like a breadcrumb trail where you just keep following along, and one thing kind of leads to the other, and it's just sort of like a magical thing. And that was really my story, and I'll get to that in just a minute. And then the second one is destiny, and that's maybe when you more have a knowing right from the get-go, from a young age, that you're on some kind of a life path and a mission, and like serendipity, the events just sort of kind of follow along, and you just keep like at the right moment in time, the next step seems to happen, but they almost feel like they have a purpose, as opposed to the serendipity, which feels more of a randomness. So and the destiny one could almost be like you're following some type of a predetermined script. I don't personally believe that. I believe in free choice and free will. So I don't believe that, we have an exact script planned out by some powerful God, but I do believe that things definitely have, magical, mystical moments that lead us down certain paths. And then the third one I'm going to call tragedy, and that's when an event occurs that people would, like, from a distance, would certainly label tragedy. It's an accident, it's an illness, it's something that is unforeseen, and it's something that happens, and the minute it happens, everything kind of changes. Now, the thing I don't like calling it tragedy is that it ultimately, people who follow this path, they don't call it tragedy. They look at it as the best thing that happened to them, and as it changed the course of their life. And yet it was started out by, something that was not necessarily something that we would hope for or want for or wish on another person. But once it ultimately happens, then that person follows that path and embraces it, and then sees the beauty of it. So, and I think that's what Aaron and Deborah are going to talk about, but I'm going to let them tell their story and let them use better words. They're more skilled in talking about that than I am. So in my case, though, I said that it was the first example, the one of serendipity. I was told I look like this actor. At age 22, it's like, hey, do you know who you look like? You look like the guy from Bosom Buddies. And I'm like, I do? Really? Cool. What's his name? Nobody knew what his name was. He was just the actor from Bosom Buddies. And then, of course, the next 10 years, everybody learned what the actor's name was. And people would say, hey, do you know who you look like? Has anybody ever told you? And this is all through the 80s going on. And then into the 90s, he's making, movies that are winning Academy Awards, Philadelphia, and then Forrest Gump. And so he's becoming, an A-lister actor. And people kept saying, hey, do you know who you look like? Do you know who you look like? And ultimately, the conversation was, I was always asked, have you ever thought of making money off of this? And the first time I was asked that, I said, no, I never thought of making money off of this. And yet, like the 10th time, and then the 100th time that someone said, have you ever thought of making money off of it? I started saying, yeah, I'm going to make some money off of it. And then I had the conversation so many times, and I was tired of having the conversation, that when people said, hey, do you know who you look like? I said, yeah, and I'm going to make some money off of it. Not necessarily thinking that was what was going to happen, but more like, it's just like a way of getting to the, what people wanted to talk about or what people would talk about. So anyway, that was the serendipitous nature of my story, where I just was like, things just kept happening and proceeding. Well, then there was a very important thing that happened. And that was, I heard a news story that Bubba Gump restaurant was opening in Monterey. I'm living in San Jose, California, just up the road from Monterey. And so I had that moment of truth when I went, oh my gosh, I have now told hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people, that I was going to make money off of this. And I suddenly had like an opportunity to do it, but it would require me to make a phone call and me to actually put some effort into doing it. And it was like a 24-hour period, like when I was like, should I do it? And I think that when we reach those points in our life, we have to do it because we feel like we don't have any choice. Or we would end up living the rest of our life with a regret, like wondering, gee, if only I had done this. And so I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have a regret. And so I said, well, I'm going to call them up and see what happens. And so I called them up, got an interview, went down there. They hired me. I worked for them for 15 years. So that's what happened. Now our guest, Aaron and Deborah, coming up, the co-host of Stroke TV, they're both stroke survivors. And so they're going to tell their story. And theirs is probably that third category that I'm labeling tragedy. I don't like that name, or maybe survivors is the right term for it. But you have that experience of like, something just changes your life, whether it's a car accident or an illness or something happens. And it's like, and then you get to the point where they go, I cannot not do this. I cannot not do this. I have to go do this. I don't have any choice. I remember telling a friend of mine just a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I said to her, I didn't ask to be Forrest Gump. Why do I have to, do this? And she said, well, consider that you did ask for it. And that was really the beginning of that point when I opened up and realized that, we actually have past lives, and we come into this life knowing and agreeing to what we're kind of for, and then we forget and we don't have the memory of it. So maybe we do ask for it. Maybe I did ask to be Forrest Gump, and maybe stroke survivors, agreed ahead of time that was what was going to be their destiny. We don't know this for sure, but we can surmise. So anyway, I followed that breadcrumb trail, and it led me right to Bubba Gump's. Aaron and Deborah followed the trail where they ended up starting Stroke TV, and I'm sure they had that moment where they went, I cannot not go do this. So anyway, we're gonna invite them on and let them tell their story. And they are in the back room. But that is I'm gonna just put this banner up one more time. That is the I cannot not do this. I remember the very first time I kind of latched onto that phrase, I cannot not do this, that double negative. Of course, a double negative, right? It's a positive, right? So I can do this is really what it ultimately means. But I think the I cannot not do this is because it's not necessarily something that we just it's like we have to almost get drug into it, kind of kicking and screaming. It's not something that we just you go, oh yeah, this is a really great idea, let's go do this thing. So anyway, that's the double negative. Alrighty. So let's invite Aaron first, and then Deborah. There they are. Hello, Aaron and Deborah. How are you folks doing this morning?
Good morning.
Really good. Good morning, Steve. Great monologue, by the way. Loved it.
I love that. And you hit it right on the head. That's exactly how we feel. We cannot not do this.
Yeah, it's let's, before we get into the story, here's what we do. Normally we just do a quick introduction. So I want you both to take just 30 seconds or a minute and introduce you. We won't go into your full story. We'll get into that afterwards. And then we have a theme song that we play, and it's called the First Time Guest Welcoming Theme Song. So if you guys come back in a couple of months from now and we revisit this, we won't play the song. This is a one-time deal. So is that how's that sound?
Really great.
All righty. So Aaron, just tell people the very short version of who you are, because we want to get deeper into your story. So how did this happen for you?
For me, I had my stroke. You talked about things happen, tragedy. Well, my tragedy turned to awesomeness. I am stroke survivor. Obviously, I have a speech deficit. I had a massive brain aneurysm, and then 2 weeks later, while in the coma, I had a major stroke. And that happened in 2011.
10 years ago.
Yeah. And I am the CEO and founder of Stroke TV, and it's been a great joy and a great ride. And God sent me my lovely co-host, Deborah Sweazey. So I'll pass the baton to Deborah Sweazey if I can.
All righty. Well, we'll get into deeper and we'll hear more about the story and your near-death experience and the whole thing. Deborah, how did you get involved with Aaron? And, what's your role in this Stroke TV?
Oh, whatever the role and how it happened, I am so blessed because I have never had such an incredible partnership, whether it's in friendship and business combined. And we have just had a ball doing what we're doing. I was a nurse for 40 years, and I had my own stroke last September. So it was kind of difficult because I was a caregiver, and I all of a sudden found myself a little bit scared, going in a dark place about how my life was going to change. I had retired 7 years ago from nursing. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm not going to be able to enjoy retirement. So I started going through some groups. I didn't connect with anybody right out of the gate until I saw Aaron with that cowboy hat one day. And I thought, okay, that cowboy hat's calling me. And I just started following him very quietly for about 3 weeks. And then I finally reached out and I said, I love what you're doing. I'd love to help you. And here we are. We decided to make it official. And both of us found out that my stroke, September 1st, was on his birthday.
Wow. So one of the things, as when I awakened, 2009 was kind of the time when I went, oh my gosh, things aren't the way they seem to be. And I've got to do some things differently. And I got to go back and re-examine what are my core beliefs. And that sent me on about a 5-year journey. And I remember it was 2014 when I had this very profound knowing that we are all connected and there are no coincidences. So it's no coincidence that your stroke was on Aaron's birthday and here you guys are. So we are all connected. We are all connected.
Oh, yeah. And then me having to jump on Della's voice that day and seeing you and thinking, wow, this is a good connection. I loved what you were doing. I loved the show. And I believe things do happen for a reason.
All righty. Well, let's play the song, the first time guest welcoming song, and then we'll dive deep into the story.
I love it.
Have you ever had
love?
Have you ever had a marching band welcome you to a broadcast before?
I feel very special.
Well, that's John Philip Sousa, the Washington Post March, and we like to just have a little bit of fun and patriotism here on the show.
I love that.
So, well, good. Well, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit out of place. So I think for this conversation, I need to add something to my my wardrobe. I'm going to wear a hat to have this conversation. Is that all right?
I love it.
Love it.
That is so good.
So, Aaron, let's start with you. Let's dig a little bit deeper into your story. You said it was 2011. I think you were about age 47. You had a business. You were a business guy, a water storage tank and rainwater recovery business. So you were like an environmental dude. You were like figuring out ways to save our planet, or at least rainwater, repurpose it, use it for watering flowers or trees or whatever. And you got a whole crew of people. You're busy in California doing all this kind of stuff. And then what happened that changed the course of your life?
But you were talking about tragedy. For me, you're right. That is the right word. My stroke was a blessing. I know it sounds. I cannot not do what I'm doing. I can't. I feel like it's what I was designed to do. And when I had my stroke, I saw the blood, like I said, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I had a massive brain aneurysm and then a stroke. And you talk about following breadcrumbs. I'm so excited because to follow breadcrumbs in our life, I believe, like you probably do, is life happens for you, not to you. That things, even though appear to be tragedy, they're not. It's the way you look at them. You follow the breadcrumbs inside their tragedy. And lo and behold, here comes Stroke TV.
Did you? Well, I'm going to save this question. But the next question for you is: did you? How long did it take before you? Really were recovered that you could? Begin to? Shift your life, because you had to shut down, the current business you had to probably go through a certain amount of physical recovery, and then how to get the Stroke TV. But I don't want to do that because I want Deborah to share her story a little bit more first. So Deborah, the question is for you. you said your stroke was just 1 year ago. What happened? It was probably, I'm going to guess, more mild than the one that Aaron had. What was your story?
Well, it's really very different than Aaron's, 100%. Being a nurse, I knew what was happening to me, which is why we advocate so much to people to try to know your body and listen to your body. Like I said, I was retired. I had been trying to do a network marketing business for extra income and fun and collaborating with people, making friendships. When I realized I was doing more than I should have, my husband kept telling me, honey, you're really pushing yourself. I didn't listen, of course, and I woke up one morning and my lips were numb. My whole left side of my face, my arms, and my leg was numb. And I knew, that it could have been a stroke, but I didn't pay attention to it as a stroke right away because I have a bad back and I thought I had slept funny and I was just numb, and which has happened. And luckily I woke up an hour later and realized it was still there and got myself to the hospital. And the first hospital I went to, they did a bunch of tests and said, it's stress, it's anxiety, that's not typical stroke symptoms. And thank God I went to another hospital where they did say I had a stroke and kept me there for a week. But that's my story, is just know if something is happening to you, just pay attention, because every stroke is different. Every person's symptoms that they get can be very different, and especially from a woman to a man with a heart attack as well. And that's my biggest thing as a nurse. I think God knew that I still loved practicing medicine, and he knew I was still trying to help people through my business, that he shifted me to Aaron, because what I'm doing now is the most rewarding thing I have ever done in my life, and am so honored to be doing it with a man who feels as passionate about doing the right thing and helping people as I do.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Deborah. Aaron, tell us just a little bit about how long did it take you to recover after you initially had the stroke, and then when did Stroke TV actually begin? What was it like at the very beginning?
Well, Steve, great question. Basically, I went to a very dark place at the beginning, suicidal in fact. You got to remember, I was an entrepreneur, did my own business, did it for 12 years, raised my family with. I wouldn't say it was huge, but it was enough to raise my family, bought sold several houses, and then stroke hit. And when stroke hit, it tears a rug out from under your feet. My life stopped, income stopped, everything stopped. And then I spiraled into an extremely dark place. And to make a longer story short, I laid in bed probably about suicidal for months. And I said, I'm going to do something with this. And that monologue was so perfect. I could not do what I could not do. I could not do what I'm doing. All of a sudden, it was like serendipity, whatever you want to call it. But I felt this longing that I had to help people through this. Mm-hmm. And that really was my main story, gigantic. But since you mentioned spirituality, my biggest game changer in my life was a near-death experience I had. Mm-hmm. That really was my game changer. Because there's a song I used to sing, because I used to sing and play guitar. In a spiritual way to live, I had to die. And that really became who I became. In a spiritual way to live. My body, I physically died, had a near-death experience. And then kind of woke up a different person. And that spiral, that darkness, during that dark time I was in, is when I realized I have actually felt like I was chosen to do this. I cannot do what they're doing. I cannot not do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
I remember reading your near-death experience on your blog, your personal blog, and you said you described it as you weren't quite sure where you were. You knew you were someplace different, and there you said that there was all the people and they were wearing kind of white gowns, and you said someone was giving you a gown and saying, "Here, wear this. You'll be more comfortable." And you realized at that point you were in your work clothes, and you felt out of place, and you were like, "No, I'm not ready to wear this gown." And you thought of your wife and of your son, and you probably didn't realize at that moment that you had more of a mission back here on earth to fulfill with helping other stroke survivors. But you essentially, and then you even reflected it in that blog post that you ultimately made the choice that no, my work isn't done. I have to go back. And it wasn't like you knew it all simultaneously. You kind of had to figure this out as time went on. So anything else you want to share about that?
Well, I think, I'm going to share just a little bit. When I was in that place, and I was in the mansion. Now, I'll post a link to my near-death experience. It could be more detailed for those of me be interested in it. But for me, it was like when I was there, I was in that place. I looked up this huge mansion, filled with thousands and thousands of people, and they're all wearing white gowns. And that, like you said, Steve, I was the only one not wearing white gown. And that's when this white-haired, white-bearded old man came up to me and said, "Oh, here, take this white gown. It'll be easier for you." All I could think about was my wife and my son. I loved them so much, I didn't want to live without them. And I said, I refused to take the white gown. And the white-haired, white-bearded old man said, "Here, take this white gown. It'll be easier for you." And I kept refusing, and he kept asking. He must ask me 4 or 5 times. I think it was, I realized how it was probably God who was asking me. He was giving me the option to live or to die. And that's when I realized not them, but during them reflecting back on that time, I was choosing to live and do something with my plan, which I've been dealt with. So the game change, Steve, was really my near-death experience, and that's when life changed. And after I went to that dark place, it took me about 3 to 4 months for a start. I started out starting a sport because I had my stroke at age 47. So I was thinking, I got to be the only 47-year-old that's half paralyzed, stuck in bed. And really, it just had a stroke at age 47. So I built Second Chance Stroke Survivors on Facebook. I wanted to see how many people like me had strokes at a younger age. Well, today, Second Chance Stroke Survivors on Facebook has over 4,000 members. And really, and then I met a man that catapulted into stroke TV and really has changed that movement, that original movement for Second Chance Stroke Survivors to know wasn't alone. There are so many people out there. In fact, there's over 80 million, Steve, there's only 80 million stroke survivors in the world today.
So Deborah, Aaron starts this and is doing this for several years. You're completely unaware of it because you didn't have a need. But the minute you had a need, you reached out. Not necessarily right away. You said here at the beginning of the interview, you kind of watched from a distance for a couple of weeks, and then you probably had that moment where I'm like, I cannot not do this. I got to go. I got to reach out and at least try. And so you did that. So the very first time that you reached out and had a conversation with Aaron, what was that like?
It was pretty incredible because I reached out to him, and I don't know if you remember, Aaron, but I said, I've been watching you for a while, and I absolutely love your heart, your passion, and what you are doing. And I am a retired nurse, and I had my own stroke, and I think God stroked me out to be here to help guide you in something that you're missing, which is education, awareness, and advocacy of being your own advocate. I said, I would love to help you. I can introduce you to some people. I have a lot of friends that are in medicine and spirituality and whatever it may be. So for about 3 months, and it was a great thing for me to do because I was recovering while I was watching Aaron. He helped me. I would stand on my machine and I would use my bands, and I would stand in the kitchen and make my healthy foods. And I was very angry when this first happened. And that's why I reached out. I'm not the type to reach out because I've always been the caregiver. Mm-hmm. So I was angry at God. I was angry at the world. I said, I've been a nurse for 40 years, taking care of people, raising my children as a single mom. Why now would you do this to me? And there was a reason. And it took me a little bit to see it. So watching Aaron and watching the community and getting to know people just had my head spinning with ideas of different people that could help us, different people that could educate the community. And I told him, let me try to help you and introduce you. So for about 3 months, we just kind of did a little bit of back and forth. I introduced him to guests, and he would interview them. One day he said, I want you to co-host. I said, I don't know about that. But,
oh, no, I'm not ready to do that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know about that because I was still recovering. And I was scared to be, not that I wasn't on Facebook. I had been on Facebook doing business, but not after my stroke. And so when he said that, I thought, let's do this. And before we knew it, it was like we did so much laughing, and we lifted each other up, and our families connected. His wife and I are very good. My husband, who is not a huge supporter of being on social media in general, just loves what we're doing, loves Aaron. And the people that we have touched, when they come back and they say, if it wasn't for Stroke TV, I think I would have, ended it, or I wouldn't have known that I should be checking on this. And we are now, which is amazing, is launching under the umbrella of Stroke TV other shows that people can just come on to Stroke TV, and they can go to a spiritual show. They can go to the Autoimmune Geek that I was telling you I want to introduce you to. She teaches about, natural healing, natural supplements, or you can go to somebody who's into herbs or light cooking. And we want to bring that to people so that you go to one place and you're overstressed trying to figure out, where do I go to learn how to eat right? Where do I go to learn this and that? We want to bring you one place. And it's just been very, very rewarding. Connected to incredible.
Wow, that is, I didn't realize that you had this bigger vision and that it just keeps growing, and you'll be bringing other shows into it that, that really we all need to, we Stroke TV was created, my understanding, really to help people just like what you went through, Deborah, and you were helping Aaron, people go through that on your own for all those years. And yet we do need other help in our lives, whether it's like, how do we have a more spiritual life? How do we have, if we have an autoimmune issue, which is, you don't have to have a stroke to have an autoimmune issue. And yet they're all connected in the sense that it's just, how do we make the human experience better for each of us? So I like what you're doing. Tell people about the show itself, and I'll just throw it out to either one of you. If someone's not familiar with the show at all, what would they, what's the format like? What do you typically do? Is it only for people who, have had a stroke, or primarily for them? Just give it like people a flavor of what the show is like. Oh, this is
Aaron. Away, Aaron.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
I wanted me to say something before you get into this. Deborah is truly, you want to call it divine destiny. You want to call it, she's my vice president now also. She isn't just a co-host, she's my vice president. We share a common spiritual bond of purpose. And okay, and I just want to say she is my VP, and I'm very proud of her. But I would say probably the most exciting thing when people come to our show that we want to make sure they walk away with is hope, because in this plight, this life thing called stroke, not only does it dramatically affect this person, the person that has stroke, but I call that the ripple effect. It affects our spouses, it affects our children, it affects our family, it affects our community, it affects everybody. And when you come to Stroke TV, which produces every Wednesday at 9 a.m. on, sorry, Steve, produce Stroke TV's broadcast on YouTube, on Stroke TV YouTube channel at 9 a.m. every Wednesday. And I'll tell you, if you come, is it for just a stroke survivor? No. You want to meet people that will give a non-stroke person hope. Because if we go through it to pop out the other side, oh, great. You could pop whatever your hardship is, whatever. It may not be a stroke. It may be a heart attack. It may be a traumatic brain injury. It may be a survivor of any type of traumatic event in life. It's what Stroke TV is there for. And it's like your show, Steve. I believe, let me just end with this. I follow Steve Harvey a lot. And he says a divine gift. Everybody has a gift. And your gift, Steve, obviously was being similar to Forrest Gump or Tom Hanks. And that was your gift. And you call it pull out the breadcrumbs. It led you to where you are today. And we're here right now because you did that. You made the choice to pull out the breadcrumbs. You could have not pulled them. You said, no, I'm not going to do this, but you did it.
Yeah.
And Stroke was our event that caused us to pull the breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs led different together.
I think I'm already hearing the word event. I like the word event a lot more than tragedy because event is neutral in how we like event is just what happens, but like tragedy is one interpretation or gift from God is another. So it's really more of that event. So that's a better way for me to describe that idea going forward. So yeah, this is it's just funny. We don't plan these things. And I don't believe that, that God plans these things. And in the sense that we always have choice throughout the journey, but how we take that choice. And so I liked what you were saying, Aaron, that you're giving people an option to be positive and to view the event, stroke being the event that they have, and they can, and you mentioned it, you were in a dark place. Deborah, you mentioned it, you were in a dark place. These events aren't without their darkness, but do you stay in that darkness or do you come back out into the light? And do you make the lemonade out of the lemon that you were given? So,
amen.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. It's okay to pack a suitcase and go into that pity party for a little bit. Just don't unpack and live there.
Okay.
Because people tend to get in a very dark place when your whole life changes. And what we want to bring from Stroke TV is not just that we don't use the word recover that much either, because you don't recover from something like this. You rebuild your life in a different way. And Aaron's always said that, and I love that, because you don't recover. It's not a common cold. And people have to first accept what has happened, stop looking back at what has happened, and mourn that person, but also give that person some love, some compassion, some kindness, because that person needs you now more than ever. And not only do we want to bring support and that kind of inspiration to the survivors, but also I started a new show called Care Warriors. It was about caregivers, and Aaron named it Care Warriors because they're warriors too. People that care for us, these people that are caring for us, we need to highlight them, and we need to acknowledge that they are part of this stroke. They're the wind beneath our wings. And so we're trying to come up with all kinds of things that help the family unit.
I like that. I have a couple of images that I'd like to share, and I took them, Aaron, from your website. And so let me just go ahead and share my screen, and let's see if it's going to pop up there. There it is. So this is just, I'm calling it just some of the pictures from your story. Let's see here. There we are. So this first picture, do you remember that young guy, Aaron?
I do remember, Steve.
So that's a picture of you in San Francisco, and it says 7 months before your brain aneurysm and stroke. So that was just like, you were running around in the city doing all kinds of work in Northern California, and so little did you know at that moment that you were going to take a different path before too long.
Yeah, that's really true. I still do, which I haven't been to that place in San Francisco for 11 years. So I can't wait to start walking and go back because I miss it. It's a beautiful place to visit. No offense, people. I'm not the type of guy who live there, but I sure do think it's a fun place to visit.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a couple more pictures. And this one, I saw this, and it really shows the skeleton, but it shows like kind of a big red spot up where your brain is. And of course, that's where the stroke occurs. And it says, "The day my life changed forever." Maybe from Deborah, maybe comment from a medical point of view, really what is happening during a stroke?
What happens during a stroke is there's different kinds of strokes. It can be from loss of circulation. It can be from an aneurysm, a bleed, a stroke. A blood clot. But what happens is you're losing actual brain tissue during that time of being deprived from oxygen. So that's why it's so important when you have any kind of event where you feel like you're off, you're dizzy, your balance, is to get in there, because time is brain, literally. And that's why you see so many different severities of people that have had strokes, and education. But that's what happens. Our brain literally is deprived, and you start losing brain cells.
My father's grandmother, so my great-grandmother, she had a stroke in her maybe late 40s or 50s, and it was a very different time. And this would have been around, let's just say, at kind of at the end of World War II time, so in the late 40s, and probably wasn't the awareness wasn't there. And so probably they put her in bed for like 3 or 4 days, and finally a week later they take her to the hospital, and by then it was kind of too late to make it. And that she lived the last 4 or 5 years in a very decapacitated state. So fortunately we know a lot better today what to do when these things happen.
Absolutely. Time is just so important.
So here, Aaron, we are not victims, we are survivors. Never give up.
Well, I think Deborah's what attracted Deborah to me, and what attracts a lot of people is that I don't believe we're victims of life, no matter what it is. Mm. You have a choice. Like you said in the beginning, Steve, you have a choice. You could either be a victim or be a survivor, or a warrior. You take a victim. You choose your destiny. See, I'm in a way, I believe you choose who you are, and you choose your destiny. And I chose to not give up, because as with many, and stroke is not the only hard thing to go through in life. But if you don't give up, you can never fail. You know, and I'm gonna say that one more time because it's really simple and very big. If you never give up trying, you will never fail. And it's true. Look at you, Steve. Look what we're doing right now. Look, we're all together on your show. To me, that is amazing because you never gave up. You kept going.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Deborah. You talked about the medical warrior. I don't know. Did you use medical warriors or what was the term you used?
A care warrior.
A care warrior, yeah. But this one says, I am a stroke warrior. Well, this was for Aaron, being a stroke warrior, and now you're a care. So you're becoming an advocate for the warriors who are out there giving the care to the different people. And Aaron, you're the warrior for people who have survived the stroke and now are, getting on with this next phase of their life.
Absolutely. And our first guest that we ever had on that Care Warrior show was Aaron's beautiful wife and his son. They came on and they talked a little bit about what a pain in the behind he is.
And your husband, Larry, was there, right?
And my husband, Larry, was there because I was his caregiver when my husband had a stroke like 12 years ago. And I took care of him. And when I had my stroke, my husband cared for me. He did everything. I mean, what a man. Cleaned the house, cooked for me, like my neighbors cooked for me. It was a tough time, but I tell you, where it's led me, I would never not accept it.
Would not go.
I could not do what I'm doing.
You've both have Aaron, you more so because you've been hosting the show from the beginning and longer than Deborah. But do you I'm sure you have many stories that are like that have touched you personally in the way you made a difference. Is there one story or maybe a story each that you could share that would be, something that happened where you're doing what you're doing, but something profound happened and you realized that it's the work of God that you're doing and helping people?
Well, Steve, great question. I really believe this. And whether you do or not, I don't know, but I believe every person in this world, every individual, I don't care where, has gift inside them, a gift of greatness. And it's that play. And I said in the green room just before the show, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Yeah. Well, guess what? It may happen. You never know what you're going to get. You may look like Forrest Gump. You may produce a show called The Gumption Show. You may be producer of Stroke TV and do a show called Stroke TV. You never know what you're going to get. But if you chase that gift, passion, that the breadcrumbs of life, if you will, I'll use Steve's analogy. You will find if you travel those breadcrumbs, you will come to the most succulent, juicy piece of bread your life was destined to be. Like I believe right now that us three were destined to be here, that us three were destined to be together. There's an energy and a resonating what you're saying that resonates in my inside when you're talking. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Deborah, tell people about about the show. Where they can find it, the website. Just kind of give a little bit of a, like if people want to help, tell people about stroketv.org, the website, and about the show, where to find it.
We are on YouTube, and we welcome anybody who's listening to just subscribe. Just subscribe to that channel is enough to help us do more of what we do. We want to one day get to where we can monetize that channel, but also share, because if you share these shows all the time, you don't know who's listening, who on your profile, friend of a friend of a friend, could be saved by listening to one of our shows. Can I go back to the question of what you asked Aaron. What really touched me one day is when I get messages all the time, but I got a message from someone who said they were in a very, very dark place. And if they had not come across that particular show that day, they were going to end it. They were done. And it showed me that I was on the right track of helping people, and that I was with the right partner, because Aaron and I work on energy a lot. And there's a lot of people that when you work with them, there's a different underlying reason maybe why they're doing it, or they don't agree with what you're doing. I believe that when you have found your gift, you find your passion and your purpose, and we have found that together. We support one another so effortlessly, which is crazy. We have locked horns a few times, but we come right back to, remember what we're doing, why we're doing it, and I love you, and I love you, and it's over. Like a real family bond. And that's what we just want everybody to feel from us, that, we do want your support, but we also want you to reach out to us and give us your support. Maybe there's a story in your life that you can share with us that will change somebody else in our group. So know that keeping your story to yourself is sometimes harmful, because you can go in that dark place, bring it out to the light, talk to people, have people help you. And people, I love in our group how it's very comical sometimes. We have some members that come on there and do these funny videos about how to tie a shoe with one hand, how to chop food with one hand. Aaron does cooking videos where he's cooking and he's trying to make a shake with one hand. But we're doing it, and that's what's so fun, is just get up and do it. Do it sore, do it one-handed, do it scared, but just do it.
There's a couple of comments that I just wanted to share. Lawrence says, "You look good." I think he's biased, but that's okay. We'll take it. And then Joey Smith, I'm so happy you are still here to talk about it today. Absolutely. And then we have another comment from Lawrence that says that everyone that has had a stroke ends up in a dark place, and to the people have the gift to show them the way out of it, and that is something very special. So yeah, what you guys are doing is very special. And it's as when I left being Forrest Gump and began my speaking business and developing the life lessons from the movie, I remember being coached and mentored and said, if you're not sharing your story, you're being selfish, and you're not, you need to get out there and, generously give that story and that gift. And of course the movie has many life lessons that I've talked about. The life is like a box of chocolates. I like to say, that life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get is a great line for a movie. And it's a great thing to tell a young boy who is struggling, to find his way in the world. But the reality is that we are not victims. Life is like a box of chocolates. We get to choose whatever chocolate we want, and we get to choose whatever life we want. And that's really what you guys are advocating for.
Absolutely.
So life is like a box of chocolates. We all get to choose whatever one we want.
Absolutely. Well,
right. It's not random. It's not just coincidence. It's not coincidence. We're here. We're not. It's not coincidence on the Gumption show. It's perfect.
There are no coincidences.
No,
we are all connected. Well, very good. So I do. The website is listed below, stroketv.org, and the voice of the survivor. I love that phrase, the voice of the survivor. Because people need to find their voice after the event. They need to come back and find their voice. And that's what you're, by just sharing the stories, it gives people it gives them permission to change the way they're thinking, but then it also gives them the tools. And I did notice that you have Dr. Karen Sullivan, who offers a guide. Who wants to share a little bit about how Karen has helped out you guys?
Oh, Deborah, do you mind?
No, of course not, Aaron.
No. But Dr. Ken Sullivan is a brain doctor. It's an amazing person. I mean, it's really about content. It's about people, and telling the energy of show, Steve, is positive. People walk away positive from the show. Karen Sullivan is so caring and so real and so genuine. She's a legitimate board certified brain doctor. And anything you want to know, she will share with you. Knowledge is she believes in what is power. I have the utmost respect, and Sturvik TV endorses Dr. Karen Sullivan to the T. But you know, Steve, I want to say, all of us, whether you're a daughter, whether you look like Forrest Gump, whether you're a beautiful coast, I mean, everybody has a gift. If you're out there watching this show right now, I am here to tell you, you have a gift. Use it to make the world your box of chocolates. Make it help people. We're here to serve each other.
Absolutely. And I'd like to end with just something so exciting that we're doing. We have a guest who had come on from Florida here. He was an attorney, and he had his stroke, lost his whole practice. Imagine being an attorney and going to school for so long and having 2 young children and a wife. Well, he didn't like some of the laws and how they were pushed him out away from rehab so quickly.
Yeah.
So he is now running for U.S. Senate.
Wow.
And we, Stroke TV, is supporting him. We will sponsor him. We will help him in any way we can. But we also have another beautiful lady that we are hopefully doing some collaborating with. Her name is Jerry Ward. She is Mrs. Ohio, running this weekend, starting tomorrow, for Mrs. International. She had a stroke at the age of 30, and she too has a platform that she's now using to educate, to encourage, and to uplift all survivors. So this is it's like a dominoes effect, guys. If you want to know more, reach out to us. If you want to know how to donate so we can continue doing this, just reach out to us. We are open to talk to you guys.
And one of my, after I made our post talking about this show, someone, a friend, a part of the community that I've been with for the last year, I immediately was reached out. And so there's somebody that I'm going to need to introduce to you.
Wonderful.
Also. So it is that, you know, like that breadcrumb thing where one thing just leads to another. We don't know how we're all connected, but we all are connected. And if we keep our eyes open. So again, go to stroketv.org or go to YouTube and just search for Stroke TV and then subscribe to the show. And you'll see Aaron and Deborah on a regular basis. Like you're putting out about 1 show a week. Is that correct?
Yep.
Two.
On Fridays we do a Shoot the Breeze with Deb and Aaron, where we keep you posted on what we're doing. Just a casual shoot the breeze.
All right. So a guest one day and then kind of a shoot the breeze the other day. I like it. Very good. And Aaron's never at a loss for words.
No.
I'm trying to behave and not talk a lot.
He's got a big vision, big vision, big dreams, and you know we are not going to stop till we get there.
Well, the other thing that this is a good example of is that we can't do everything on our own. And so I just love the way that the two of you have teamed up and are stronger and creating something much bigger together than you could ever do if you did it individually. So we're going to keep cheering you on. We're going to wish you the best. God bless you both. Thank you for coming this morning, and we'll hopefully have you come back again in a few months or whenever, and just keep us posted as maybe the you know, as more and more shows come to the platform. I want to stay connected and be part of it.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to make sure
that you are going to be on our show on October 20th.
That's right.
My lovely coach is like my VP is running me, but I really want to invite anybody and everybody. If you're a survivor, come on to Star TV. I mean, Steve, your show is so positive. The energy is so positive. I feel like getting my chair and walking. It is great. I love it, bro. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. This has been fun. So thank you so much. I'm gonna I'll say goodbye to you both now, and I look forward to seeing you again before too long. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye.
All righty. Well, thank you, Aaron and Deborah, for joining me this morning, and thanks for encouraging me to wear my hat. The hat's been up on the shelf for the last year. It's the first time it's been on my head, but I had the perfect occasion to wear it. So thank you so much for that. All righty. So tomorrow I'm going to come back and I'm going to welcome Kimberly Palm to the show. She's going to be here for the second time, so we won't play the first time guest theme for her tomorrow. We're going to welcome her back, and we'll have lots of fun talking. Well, it's actually a fairly serious conversation, but it's fun. We're going to do it in a fun way. Ascension 101. As we are moving from a 3D, a physical reality, into the 5D, more of a love-based reality. And that's really what she is an expert on. And it's a fascinating conversation. So please join us tomorrow. All righty, that's it. Well, I'll see you all. Thanks for the people who commented, and we will see everybody. We'll see everybody tomorrow.